Hello, this is Bill Hahn. Welcome to the Process Portal scenario in the IBM BPM tutorial demo series. So let's get started. In the order fulfillment process application, we can either create a new order as an analyst, or the order can be triggered by a reorder message from SAP, an external message that kicks off the process. We then put the request for quote out to numerous vendors. There's some system level processing to select fulfillment rules. And then an analyst does the final selection of fulfillment option, which vendor will be chosen to source the orders. And then a manager approval is given to either accept or reject the order and send it back for rework. And then finally, the order is placed in SAP. So let's go ahead and use this process as an end user in the process portal. We're going to go ahead and log in as an analyst. As we saw from the process, we can create a new order as an analyst. And as an analyst, we also have other ongoing work. What we're looking at right now is the Analyst 1 logged into the Lombardi Process Portal. The Process Portal is a lightweight web application that, with zero programming effort, works out of the box with any process application you build with IBM BPM. So in here, we can look at all of our work that's awaiting our attention as an analyst. We can select one of the activities and take a look at the process diagram to see where we are in this process. So this is the same process diagram that we see in the Process Designer in the authoring environment of Webster Lombardi Edition. So end users get a consistent view of that single picture of the process. So in this particular work item, we can see that the analyst is at the beginning of the process. If we choose a different activity, let's say this Kindle order, and take a look at the process diagram, we can see that the analyst is actually participating in this process more towards the middle of the business process, towards the middle of the order fulfillment business process application. If the analyst is interested in specific orders, they can search with the quick search box, Kindle in this case, and very quickly find what they're looking for. If we drill down into this Kindle activity, this Kindle order, they can see where they are in the process. They can see the full trail of what activities happened before it got to them. The order was created, vendors responded, fulfillment rules were chosen, and now they have to review for final vendor selection, selecting the fulfillment option. They also have control over what happens while they're using the process. With appropriate authority, they can suspend, resume, and terminate activities and processes. More mainstream is the need to assign the task to claim it, or return it back to the group, or to assign it to someone else on the team. Perhaps change the due date of a particular process. Look at the critical path information of a process, see where the potential bottlenecks are, and change due dates to accommodate the critical path of a process. Change the priority of a task in addition to the priority of a due date of a process. Change the due date of a task. Look at the process diagram, which you've seen already. See an audit trail or an audit page for the whole process. Collaborate with others on the team, and work with calendars, as well as digest this information in the form of a spreadsheet. Any participant can take a look at their own performance. These scoreboards over on the left-hand side, these dashboards called scoreboards, are out-of-the-box reports, dynamic reports that work with any process that you build. So for instance, the My Performance scoreboard shows me the percentage of my work that's on track, at risk, and overdue. I can see clearly when tasks and how many tasks will go overdue on a particular date. I now have a color-coded inbox that shows me my activities that are on track, at risk, and overdue. I can look at my performance compared to the rest of my team, perhaps motivating me to work harder or smarter or both. And if I click on pieces of the pie, like let's say the overdue piece of the pie, Now I have a shorter list of things to choose from, perhaps helping me prioritize what to do next. Similarly for the at-risk as well as on-track items, according to the due date for the work in my inbox. I can take a look at the history of work that's gone on with this process. Based on my visibility as an individual or a team member or a team manager, I can see the full audit trail or history. If I drill down on one of the orders, I can see where that order is if it's still being processed. I have the audit trail of who's worked on what, and I can also see the screens related to this order that's in process, including things like document attachments. So I can really navigate very quickly both my work and a history of the work that's been done. One of the things in the process portal is the ability to create a new process instance, or in the case of the order fulfillment process, a new order. So let's go ahead and create a new order as an analyst. When we click next, we can see the screens that we need to use to create the order for target. We'll enter in some sort of a material or order number and choose the product. Since the iPad launch is happening this year, we'll go ahead and make the order about iPads. And let's be sure to expedite this order in support of Target's aggressive launch campaign. In addition to that, we're going to attach some documents to this process. Let's go ahead and attach a brochure to this process for this product that's being ordered, and we'll go ahead and attach another document, a data sheet for the product that we're ordering. Let's proceed next, and we can see that it's easy to include in the end user screens live reports. This particular live report displays quotes in flight as well as quotes that have been accepted and processed by various vendors, so we get a feeling for the volume of activity and where that activity is in the life cycle of working with our vendors. If we attempt to proceed, we have validation built into the user experience that helps them remember that they really need to pick several vendors before they can proceed. So as the analyst goes to the next screen, the summary screen, they can see the vendors it's being sent out to, the documents that have been attached, and once the analyst submits this order, it proceeds through the process. So let's go ahead and log on as one of the vendors that needs to process this order and see what they see. Like every participant in the business process, they can get a view of their own personal performance. You can see that this pie chart is a little bit different from the analysts. They have their percent on track, at risk, and overdue, their activities color-coded per that ranking, and then their performance versus the team average and when tasks will go overdue. Now, if the vendor 1 selects the iPad and starts working on that activity, that vendor can see that there are other vendors in the vendor group that have been asked to respond to this quote, but since we're logged on as vendor 1, I can only claim my activity. So we manage flexible disclosure. We can hide things or show things to various members of the team as appropriate, and then control who can claim what activities. We have a live report in here that shows when vendors respond more quickly, they're more likely to win the business, to motivate a good and quick response. And for this lot of iPads, this vendor is responding with a quote of 200,000. So now if we log off of vendor 1 and log on as vendor 2, vendor 2 will participate in the process. Like all participants, vendor 2 can see their own personalized performance, when tasks will go overdue, their performance versus team average, and they can work on the iPad order as well. They see, likewise, that vendor 1 has participated and quoted. They can see that his activity is closed, he's completed his work, so I guess vendor 2 better hurry up and finish this job so they can be considered for the business. So vendor 2 is going to go ahead and process this request for quote. They're going to be very aggressive and bid 150,000 instead of 200, which seems like a really aggressive bid. They can see that the process has progressed from their activity down into the system lane. So the system is going to automatically process some fulfillment rules, and so the system has probably completed that by now. So if we go ahead and refresh the web browser, we should see that the process has proceeded down line. Now it's sitting in an analyst's inbox. Actually, the team of analysts have this activity to select the vendor or select fulfillment option based upon the vendors that have bid. And now we can claim it with Analyst 2 instead of Analyst 1 just to show that it does show up in everybody's inbox. Analyst 2 has the scoreboards to gauge their own personal performance, and Analyst 2 can go in and work on the iPad 2 order. We can see this growing list of activities. The order was created, the vendors responded, the system selected some fulfillment rules, and now the analyst is expected to select fulfillment option or select a vendor based on the quotes. And you can see that we have the ability to just see a simplified view of only my work or a complete audit trail of the activities that have been completed thus far. So let's go ahead and work on this as Analyst 2. And Analyst 2 can claim this activity, review the quotes, noticing that there's one that's significantly lower than the other. Take the easy way out and just choose the lowest quote. And now we can see it's progressed down to the manager swim lane. So the manager has to review the vendor selection and provide final approval. So we'll go ahead and log off as the analyst and log on as the manager. And now that we're logged on as a manager, we're going to go ahead and take a quick peek at our own personal performance and then go in and work on this iPad 2 order. So now the manager can see where they are in the process. They can see all the work that's been done so far, who's done it. They can see those attached documents as well. They can work on their part of the process. They can see that this quote from this vendor ABC is really low. 150,000 is almost too good to be true. So the manager is going to collaborate with his team and provide a comment here that says this quote is too low. It's really too good to be true. Please investigate why this vendor is bidding so low, and in the meantime, fulfill this order through a more mainstream vendor we've done business with before. So in that spirit, the manager is going to reject this order, and you can see that it went through this backward branching rework path, the rejection path. No, it's not approved, and it goes back in the analyst team's inbox. So now the analyst is going to have to do a little bit more work because evidently they chose a vendor quote that was too low, too good to be true. So now if we log in as one of the analysts, we can see the iPad 2 activity is in our inbox. This growing list of activities. It's getting longer as more people work on it. And the analyst can see that there's a comment in here. The manager says you better select another vendor and figure out why the other one bid so low. So this analyst is going to agree and say that they'll go ahead and choose a different vendor quote and work with the other vendor to see why they bid so low. So now they can work with that activity, come down here and look at the quotes. The one on the bottom is the more mainstream vendor with the higher quote, which for now seems like the better choice. So we'll go ahead and select that, and now the process proceeds back to the manager swim lane. So if we log back on as the manager, we can see that the manager now has this back in his inbox. The manager can see the document attachments in the middle, the commentary where we collaborated on what to do with this order, and now the manager can see where they are in the process, get a feeling for all the work that's been done, as well as who did the work, Analyst 1, Analyst 2, Vendor 1, Vendor 2, a little bit of system activity for those process rule selections, and the business rules that were used for the fulfillment options. And then the manager can claim this activity and review this decision. Now the manager sees that we're using a more mainstream vendor, the one that happens to be the higher quote, but a more dependable vendor, and we'll go ahead and approve that, and we see that the process is completed. No more highlighted activities.